Hey, my wonderful sweet baby. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about this whole entire situation with DDG and Halle baby. Now I've made a few videos going over everything, and I just kind of had a few questions because I myself am constantly thinking about this whole entire story, and there's just a lot of things that just don't make sense to me. So I really just wanted to make a video addressing some of the things that kind of seem like, unaddressed. And I know we will hear more about it once the case actually does go to trial and, they do actually go to court in regards to this. But there's just a few questions that I wanted to address as of now. And hopefully, when things do get, addressed in court, those questions will be answered. So we shall see what ends up going down. But I did want to go over these things. Now, before anybody says anything, yes, I did go over the entire document. I actually listened to it from Big Academics, Mr. DJ Academics himself. So I've listened to him read the whole thing. I read along with him. I've gathered and formulated my own opinion, and that is why I'm creating this video as of now. So I want to just get straight into it. I'm going to try to do things in order as much as possible, but I just kind of went based off of the questions that I had, and I just kind of added accordingly to, the list of things that I had questions for. And when those answers were answered, I kind of went back and just erased and updated as, I went through the document. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the first thing that kind of seems like a red flag to me. So first things first is Holly's tooth. Now, to me, it honestly doesn't make sense how her tooth is the only thing that ended up affected by her whole head being slammed into a steering wheel. That kind of did not make sense to me the more that I kept thinking about it. I was having a conversation with someone about this whole situation, and as I said that out loud, I was thinking to myself, if a person's head got slammed into a steering wheel, wouldn't there be busted lips, a broken nose, maybe a lump on her forehead, something of that nature? The only thing that she really had to go for of this entire thing happening was her tooth being chipped. Out of everything that could have happened, the only thing that ended up happening was her tooth being chipped. It just kind of didn't make much sense to me. Like, I would have even thought that maybe she would have like bit her lip, or maybe she would have, had a busted lip. Maybe even if she would have had like a little sore inside of her lip, of like maybe the impact of her tooth scraping against her chin of her lip or something, something of that nature. But it just kind of seems like the damage of her tooth is very minuscule for it to just be, the steering wheel and her tooth. And then, people are also pulling up this video of her explaining how her tooth got chipped in the first place. So go ahead and take a look at this clip.
A little scared of the dentist, but I'm going for my regular cleaning, and also because I chipped my tooth and I'm just a little nervous.
I also peeped too that her fingernail, like her nails were chipped. So you could tell that she had nails and they broke. And they've also been, showing that was a video or a picture of DDG with bandages on his arm. So you could definitely tell that some sort of scratching ended up happening there as well. Let me see if I can go ahead and find that picture, and I'll insert it right here. So here's the picture of, DDG with the bandages on his arm. So clearly, you could tell that something deeper ended up happening. But as you can see, he had Halo in this moment, which kind of does align with Holly's story as to, him having Halo during that time of the moment and her just dropping him off with DDG. Now, I want to get back to the situation with her tooth. Now, there was a video, a longer version of the video that I expressed to you guys about her tooth. And in that video, you guys could see that she was saying she was heading over to the dentist in regards to her tooth. Now, there's a longer portion of the video where she says that the doctor or the dentist had told her that, it could be a possibility that her tooth is chipping because she needs to floss more. And in that video, she kind of made it seem like that was the reason as to why her tooth chipped. And she kind of just brushed it off. Now, I know that, people can lie about their situations and things of that nature, but my whole thing is, previously, Holly didn't have an issue with, letting the world know about her not having any recollection to, DDG bringing baby Halo onto Kai's stream. So I don't understand why this wouldn't have been the perfect time for her to blatantly admit, DDG had done something to her. This was more of a huger issue for her to blow out of proportion than the whole situation with Kai and him having his son live on a stream where the whole world could see what's going on and if the baby would have been in any kind of imminent danger compared to the situation that she's making so minuscule. So I thought that that was also a contradictory purpose as well. So the second inconsistency that I found in the story was her saying that he wasn't financially supportive. I think that this was the biggest, hugest one that threw me for a loop because DDG has flexed with his money several times and expressed that, he's so famous, he has so much money. And this one just kind of threw me for a loop because DDG has always, kind of made sure that he's always supported Halo, bought things for Halo. And he's also even said in multiple interviews that, he's working pretty much for Halo at this point. Like everything that he does, he's doing it to make money for Halo. So that kind of threw me for a loop. There was a portion in the document in which Holly did talk about, pretty much her having to provide a way for DDG's mother to get back to LA while in New Jersey. And I'm assuming that that may have been the reason as to why Holly was stating that he wasn't financially supportive. And my whole thing is, I'm not exactly sure what regards she thinks that he should be supportive. I know that for certain he should be taking care of the baby when the baby is in his care. If they were trying to do things 50-50, then I do think that when she has the baby, she should be taking care of those financial needs. And if she does come into a bind, then he should be able to step up to assist if need be. But I think that because she is a financially stable person, and if she is going to have the baby for that portion of the time, she should be able to provide for the child. And I think that when he has the child, he should be stepping up and he should be, assisting the child's needs, and vice versa. If he comes into a financial burden and he needs assistance, she should be willing to step up and assist him if that were to be a issue. She should be able to assist him to help him out so he doesn't have to go through a situation in which the baby goes without. But I also just want to know how she's going to feel when she does get sole custody, because then everything's going to be 100% on her. She will have to financially be able to provide for the child, as well as, be there 100% for the child with no support from him, because it's almost like he doesn't even exist in the child's life anymore. So that would 100% be her job. So if you're struggling financially now to provide for your child, this is something that you want to think about prior to having sole custody of a child that you're struggling financially to take care of. So another thing that kind of threw me off, this is reason number 3 that was like a red flag. I did not understand how she was so hysterical in this moment of DDG having baby Halo. She got into the car with him because she was super hysterical. So leaving her place just, unattended at this point, and hopped in the car with him and went back to his place where he was with his family. She then states that she speaks to his family and she explains to them the situation that went down. And after she expressed to them what went down and they seemed very dismissive, she then decides to leave after they told her to leave. Now, in this moment, she stated that she was very, nervous about leaving baby Halo with him simply because of how hostile and hysterical he was in this moment. And when they told her to leave, she actually did just that and she left. That right there doesn't make sense to me. You are a worried, frantic single mother, and you stated that you think that your child is in imminent danger, and you're not certain that the baby would be safe with his father. I thought that this was strange because I felt like the police should have been called in this moment. I felt like, if any moment of being hysterical during any kind of a situation and wanting to blow anything out of proportion, it should have been this moment. Once again, going to bring up the Kai situation. She was super frantic with DDG posting Baby Halo on string with Kai, but yet, this moment here where Baby Halo was in the care of another family member, which is George, Mama Tanya's boyfriend, which is DDG's mother's boyfriend, and in the care of his father, whom you laid up and had a child with. He's in the care of two family members, and you felt unsafe with him being on the stream, even though he was in the care of many adults plus his father, as well as another family member that he's so very used to. So I felt like that was strange that you blew that out of proportion, but yet in a moment in which you felt fearful of the baby being with his dad, you didn't decide to call the police in that moment. After he, hysterically called you out of your name, he, got into an altercation with you, smashing your head into a steering wheel, cracking your tooth, and leaving bruises on your shoulders, as well as grabbing your hair and you guys tussling. Then on top of that, you stating that, his family not being supportive, completely dismissing you and telling you to leave and leave your baby into the care of them while you feel nervous, scared, anxious, all of these types of emotions, except happy. So before we move on to inconsistency number 4, I just want to show you what Halle was fearful of when DDG went to the stream with Kaysie. Go ahead and take a look at this.
He smell good. You got cologne on. It's the coolest baby. Bro, this is the most calm baby. That's what I'm saying. But Chad, usually I know you be having issues with kids and shit, but that's what I'm saying. Like, Bobby always crying around me. Bobby different. Bobby don't like me either. So how y'all got him so chill? Bro, he just him, bro. He was born in Beverly Hills. Like he knew it's not nothing new. Look, you see, look, he should be. Oh, that's fire. That's cool. Okay, so look.
Hey, where's my gifts?
Hello. You don't know. Hello, you don't know. I'm your uncle. So I got some stuff for you, okay?
What did you get for me?
And I got more stuff for you on the way.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Like throughout the month, I'm making sure that he gets good. You feel? I'm like tapping in with him for the month. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. And I'm your uncle, so it's my duty to be there for you, okay? Here we go.
All right, so red flag and inconsistency number 4 was the whole incident with the car and, going to DDG's family's home in the first place. So she somehow ends up in the back seat, buckling Halo in, and they were talking about the whole entire situation of, creating a set schedule. She's buckling Halo in and then somehow is in the back seat, and she states that she's 100% completely in the back seat. This is exactly how she states it. She says she's fully in the back seat. She's putting Halo in, and she started to feel like, things were going south. She then states that that's when Daryl starts calling her out of her name and telling her, "Beware, get out of my car." At this moment, she then says that, he slams her head into the steering wheel. How does he slam your head into the steering wheel at this point and you are in the back seat? That doesn't really make sense. She never really explained in the documents how she even got out of the back seat. She just explains that, she's in the back seat, she's buckling her baby into the car. He's telling her to get out of his back seat. I feel like at this point, if, he's asking you to increase proximity from him and you guys aren't seeing eye to eye, and he is the dad of this child, and you both have more than likely learned how to put a baby in the car seat at this point. Halo is past 1 at this point. I feel like, giving him his space and getting out of his vehicle and letting him put the baby in and you just going back into your house and leaving him be at this point would have been okay. Maybe giving your baby a kiss, saying, I love you, I'll see you later. Just doing that would have probably been best, especially if a man is angering you as well as blustering you. You're both flustered in that moment. It may have been best just to leave him be. And then, calmly approaching and saying, hey, just once this happened, see when, we could exchange and, I can have my baby back. But just kindly doing it in a way where you guys could be amicable. Or maybe just allowing for him to reach out, since this is a point in which he was a little bit more upset. At the end of the day, he's in the care of not only himself, which is somebody you comfortably felt comfortable with laying up with to conceive a child with. And then also, he's in the care of all of his family members, including his mother, whom you always drop the baby off with, and whom you've stated that he's always with primarily most of the time when, he's supposed to have the child. So, he's around family. So, I'm trying to figure it out with that as well. That also was a red flag for me. You went from the back seat to the driver's seat and somehow your tooth got chipped. It just didn't make much sense to me. And last but not least, the final inconsistency for me was DDG getting into her home. So she stated that, DDG was able to get into her home because he was able to get into her home from a side door that she had left open. And that to me alone seems very neglectful, especially of a very paranoid parent. So either you informed him that, the side door is usually left open, or you maybe told him that he's able to come in through the side door. Just something doesn't seem right with that whole thing. How does he know to go to the side door? I'm not sure if he comes over her home frequently or what, but she stated that he does not have a key to her home. Okay, that makes sense. How would he know to go to the side door and that it's just automatically open? That kind of gives a red flag to me. That's kind of inconsistent, because a normal person that would just come to your home shouldn't just know to just go to the side door and that the side door is always constantly left open. It also is very neglectful for a single woman, also a single woman with a very young child, also a celebrity, to be doing things like this. I feel like with her having all of these things listed, her being a young woman, that lives alone, and her being a young woman that lives alone with a baby that's only 1 year old, and her being a celebrity, shouldn't she be more cautious to ensure that, all areas of her home is constantly locked? Like she's always got, the doors locked, always keeping the windows closed. Any side doors, she's making sure that they're double checked to be locked, because you're alone. Now, to do these types of things, and, you have people that live with you, you kind of feel a little bit safer. So if you, had somebody there, you wouldn't feel the need to kind of make these little mistakes. But I just kind of feel like doing something like that either seems like a setup for him to go and do that. Maybe she told him about that side door always constantly being left open. Something gives red flag, because I wouldn't think to myself to go to someone's side door unless they've told me previously they always leave it open. And she even stated in the document that, she caught it on the Ring camera that he went to the side door to open it. It's almost like it was a setup purposefully, because you wanted to make it seem as if he's creepy. And I just think that it's even more, kind of crazy that now all of these videos of DDG perceived to be creepy are now coming forth. So go ahead and take a look at this video of the whole situation with him and Jillianias.
Bugs of it. What are you doing?
This shit weird.
What the fuck?
What your flies out of this shit?
What are you doing here? Are you serious right now?
What?
You just gonna come and sit down? How'd you know I was here?
I just put on your Snapchat. I see.
You went on my Snap and you found out I was here and so you came?
Why not?
That's just a little creepy.
How is it creepy? I just wanted to link up with you.
So you don't text me?
What I gotta text you for?
So you just pop up on people?
I'm just saying, I made sure you by yourself. I was looking at you through there.
You were looking at me through where? So you just be spying on people. Now what if I was with somebody?
Why you on camera making me look like a little weirdo and shit?
You just popped up on me while I'm having lunch. That's not weird. You just think how you feel entitled to just pop up on people.
I'm just saying, I just want to see. I don't do this for everybody, so that's what you understand. You know what I'm saying?
So I should be excited right now? I want to know. Am I tripping right now or am I tripping? Cause he just popped up on the kid. We're gonna have to have a serious off-camera talk because there's boundaries and there's limit. There's
So here's my thoughts. I just want to say this before, everybody starts dragging me in the comments. I know some people may not even get this far in the video, but it just determines who listens and who doesn't. But I'm going to say this. DV is by no means acceptable, but it's also not acceptable to lie on people that you know are innocent. And I think that a lot of the times people completely neglect that. And people also completely neglect common sense. And I'm not going to throw my common sense out of the window. I felt like initially when I heard the story, I just instantly wanted to blame DDG because I was just thinking to myself, why would he do this to somebody, especially to the woman that, bared his child? But I actually had to sit back and think about it, gather the evidence, and have a clear brain and a clear mind and understand what was going on. I'm a fan of both of them, Halle and DDG, but I'm also not here for the bullshit. I'm not going to sit here and be on anybody's team or anybody's side, and it just doesn't simply make sense. Now, there's a few things that, I would love to know from DDG, but I just find it to be really funny that, right when this document comes out and when he should be able to, comfortably say his piece on everything so we can comfortably piece everything together rather than having to come up with think pieces, he's not even able to speak for himself, to give, indication on why he did this and why he did that and everything. And we now have to wait a whole month out to get his side on everything. So I just find that to even be interesting. I seen a comment, and I believe I seen it on TikTok, and somebody had stated something, and that seems to be exactly what is going on here and exactly what the case is. They had stated that it seems like Halle is 100% completely invested in being a mother to the point where it's kind of like unhealthy. And I think that that's the level of postpartum that she is dealing with at this point. There's, many different portions and many different levels of postpartum. And I think that the level of postpartum that she's dealing with is one in which she's so smothering and overbearing to her child to the point where she doesn't have an identity of her own and that she doesn't want anyone caring for her child of their own. And the reason that this could be unhealthy is because sometimes, mothers kind of feel like they want no one else around. And when things do get to a point where she has no help, she may actually crash. And it could not only be detrimental to her, but it could also be detrimental to baby Halo. Because if the only person that is around when she has this crash happens, and it so happens to be baby Halo, that ends up being an unsafe environment for the baby. And the fact that she's putting in this order in which the only person that created this child that could be around this child is her, that kind of becomes a little bit scary. Because then, there are a bunch of other people that are involved in baby Halo's life other than the dad. And, the dad does have, I feel just as much rights to the baby as the mom does. I feel like if they equally created this child, they both equally should have rights to the child. Whether it's, providing for the child, caring for the child, loving the child, and spending time with the child. So, yeah, that kind of rubs me the wrong way that now she just feels so entitled to have 100% care of the child when, she's previously stated that he was a good dad. So this does kind of all come out of the blue. I feel like, yes, if he does cause some sort of damage to her, that is bad. But I feel like if the communication through third parties of, retrieving their child as well as dropping off the child is met, then they won't even have any kind of ties to each other. It'll just strictly be through third parties to pick up the baby as well as drop off the baby, and everything will be communicated through third parties. It's unfortunate, but that's just how the cookie is going to have to crumble, since the both of them can't be in a room without things getting violent. But I don't think that it should be taken out on baby Halo to not get to know his family on his dad's side simply because his mom wants 100% custody of the baby. That's selfish and that's wrong. And I'm not gonna lie, that video of DDG popping up on Jolie Anais, that was pretty creepy. But once again, that has nothing to do with his parenting towards baby Halo. That literally has zero evidence towards baby Halo. That just has all evidence to prove that he was creepy towards Holly. But I feel like, as a whole, we're trying to put baby Halo in the mix. And this is all happening due to baby Halo. And I feel like primarily the main reason that all of this is happening is because, Holly is at a point of postpartum in which she wants no one around her child but her. And, there's even videos out there of her admitting that, she is at a point of her life in which she can't, live without baby Halo. I'm going to go ahead and play this clip for you guys.
I love my baby so much. I need him with me in order to function, in order to be able to do the scenes and everything. So he's been out here with me majority of the time. But this week, and I go home on the weekends. But this week I had a lighter week and I'm going home tomorrow. So I got here last night and I'm going home tomorrow. So I was like, let me try to test myself and see if I can be without him for a day and leave him, let him and his daddy have daddy and son time. And you guys, I miss him so much. But everybody knows Moo's the best daddy to him. But I miss him so much. Yesterday on the plane, I was crying, and I went to, the little airport stores. I bought a teddy bear, and I was like clutching it to my chest. I bought a Build-A-Bear and a blanket, and I was clutching it to my chest, literally on the plane last night, crying to not feel like miserable without him. I love him so much, guys. I don't know how this is possible. Anyway.
So I say all that to say, I honestly and truly think that Holly does need some form of therapy, and she does need some form of support as well as some form of relief to kind of help her get through this, because you should never feel like you can't really function without your baby. You should be able to still go to work and be able to provide for your child without feeling like, is something going to happen to your baby? You're being a bad mom and things of that nature. Like, it is normal, but it's also kind of not normal. And this may be happening simply because it's her first child, but we do have to normalize that the behavior of not being able to function without your child when, your child is in perfect care and, there's not some kind of tragic accident that's happening, you should be able to function without that constantly being in the back of your head that something's going to happen to your child. You cannot live life that way. But that's my opinion. What's yours?